What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Scent Bubble, and today we are going to talk about yet another fragrance that I feel when people go into the inspired category, clones, dupes, etc. This is one of the top 5 fragrances that gets picked up first in the collection. Can you guess what it is? We are going to dive right into it right here, right now. Grab your popcorn, favorite drink, and stay tuned. And welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. Again, guys, this is one of those fragrances where I probably should have picked it up sooner, but the note profile, it's not that it didn't appeal to me, it's just that there are so many fragrances that kind of carry a profile similar to this. This is a fragrance that I think is the one of the most versatile in its category, and a lot of people have a lot of great things to say about it. I again was on the TikTok shop and snagged this fragrance for about 17, 18 bucks. I think it's listed for about 30 to 35 bucks on Amazon before shipping. Now, fragrance we're talking about today is from the house of Rasasi, and it is Hawas for him. Again, fragrances that I wouldn't have pulled the trigger on in the past, but TikTok shop is going absolutely bananas with the deals right now. And so I said, you know what? Hawas gets a lot of great feedback. Let me go ahead and put my nose to it finally and see what I think. This is in the category of freshy with charm. And a lot of people seem to, now that Hawas has kind of been out for quite a while and the cat's out of the bag with it just being a super popular fragrance, a lot of people are claiming that Hawas Ice is actually the more appealing fragrance out of the two, just off of interest factor alone. But let's go ahead and give this a quick spray. Now, introduction to this fragrance. There's not too much of a backstory with me in this fragrance. I've seen it online. I've seen people talking about it. I've seen people put it in their top 10s and heard a lot of good feedback about it. I've rarely heard anyone say that the fragrance is bad. The only feedback seems to be that it gets generic after a while. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, one, it's such a similar note profile to a lot of fragrances. And two, because the fragrance is so versatile, you rock a scent any season, any reason for too long. And unless it's a real expensive, multi-layered, sophisticated fragrance, you can't really, you eventually do get burnout with a fragrance, I think, if it's not just a super rare, unique, expensive smelling fragrance. It can turn generic very quickly or even become nose blind to it in terms of its intricacy. Initial thoughts on the test strip. It is a fresh, almost Davidoff cool water type of fragrance, but much lighter, a little more toned down and sophisticated. Watery notes, some sort of citrus medley up top. It does have some type of uniqueness in the fruit medley, like it can't just be citrus, it's got to be something else. And maybe a bit of amber. Seems like a pretty simple fragrance to me. This is a freshie, out of the shower, running errands, casual vibe, easy grab and go, super versatile, summer, spring, but I think it as well can smell nice and fresh and clean for that kind of cold weather as well. But again, I think it shines in warmer weather. Let's go ahead and look at the note breakdown, guys. Okay. So on the top of this fragrance, we have apple, bergamot, citrus, lemon, and cinnamon. I don't really get a cinnamon note, but I certainly get that crisp green apple note on the top. Very similar to Nautica Voyage in terms of that crisp apple opening. Almost exactly similar, but the lemon and bergamot kind of tinge it slightly differently by maybe 5-10%. Apple dominant up top. Watery notes in the middle, for sure. Plum, maybe a smidge. Cardamom, orange blossom. I think those are just contributing to that freshness. And then on the bottom, we've got ambergris, musk, patchouli, and driftwood. To me, guys, I'm going to be quite honest. Let me be super honest with this fragrance. This smells almost 1-to-1 to Nautica Voyage. I'm trying to figure out what the nuance is with Hawas, because Hawas certainly has a slightly different nuance. I think it might be in that plum note, just tinging it slightly more in the sweeter direction. I think Nautica Voyage is predominantly crisp green apple and watery note. Um, Whereas this seems to have that 100% down, and then just a slight tinge of more in the slightly sweeter direction. It's a little less apple tangy on the dry down. But man, this is pretty much 1-to-1 to Nautica Voyage. I would say if you can spend $20 or less on this fragrance, you might feel like it's a little bit more interesting than Nautica Voyage. But this fragrance is listed as at 30 to 35 bucks on Amazon. So assuming you're going with that line of budget, I think this is completely synonymous with Nautica Voyage, and I would just go to a discounter and cop Nautica Voyage for 15, 20 bucks and call it a day. Because I think that fragrance leans more on the green apple, but going classy on woods in the watery notes, whereas this one is just slightly a little bit more sweeter. But to me, they're virtually 1-to-1. Like they're like 95% closely related in the same category. Again, that just watery, crisp apple, not a lot of complexity to the fragrance. Easy grab and go. I can see why this fragrance is so versatile, because similarly to Nautica Voyage, when you throw citrus apple up top with watery note mid and amber in the base, it's just a DNA that's absolutely timeless. So I could see what the allure is with this. This is pretty much people's modern day Nautica Voyage in my eyes after smelling it. Projection and longevity, I would imagine this is maybe a 4 to 8 hour fragrance, maybe 5 to 8, depending on if you're outdoors or indoors. So let's just call it 4 to 8, depending on indoor, outdoor. It's got a decent amount of projection on it and a decent amount of scent trail. But again, because it's such a watery, light, airy, crisp apple note, it's not beast mode to me. It's projective. It's there. It can go inside of a room and leave a trail, but it is seductive in that it's not just jumping out into the room and forcing its way around. The projection factor, I would probably rate it maybe a 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10. And longevity is solid and meets your everyday needs for sure. You put on 6 to 10 sprays in the morning, you're going to be good for most of the day unless you're outside. Use cases, I think this is extra versatile. It's not a very complex fragrance, even though it's a freshie with charm. I don't think it leans heavy on the charm. I think it's mostly just a fruit citrus freshie. So yeah, I mean, for the younger guy, this is the fragrance they're grabbing for the gym, out of the shower. Don't want to think too much about your daily routine. You just want to grab something that's easy on the nose and go. Date night, I feel it's a little lackluster. You know, it's like, imagine me putting Nautica Voyage on right now for a date. She's gonna appreciate that I smell good, but it's not gonna go beyond that. It's not a smell she needs to continuously come back to. It's just, wow, this guy's fresh and clean and classy. Nothing very sophisticated or alluring about it. If you wore this on a date, it's probably with somebody you've been with for a long time and you just don't really care. So yeah, serious occasions, I would not rock this. This is leans heavy casual. Age range, I think it's ageless. I think the older you are with a fragrance like this, the more generic you smell. So 35 and up, if you're putting something like this on, don't plan on being around a lot of people for the day. You just want to smell fresh, and that's it. Price, again, it runs 30 to 35 bucks on Amazon. I'm sure a fragrance buy or something like that might get you in the $25 to $30 range. Again, the beautiful thing about TikTok is you can always find people who are providing free shipping. So when you throw a coupon in on top of that, you get an incredible deal like I did, where you get a fragrance for, 17, 18 bucks. 100 ml, presentation's okay. Nothing to write home about. Final thoughts on this fragrance. I can tell you off rip, if you're considering getting Hawas because you don't have that DNA style, I would easily, even though I haven't smelled ice, say that you're better off going with Hawas Ice for something a little bit more interesting, maybe with a little bit more sophistication. This is a very generic fragrance, in my opinion. I think it's important to have fragrances like this. Like I have Nautica Voyage, you know what I'm saying? It's like Vibrant Vetiver Delight, you know, something just simple, extra versatile, non-threatening, common DNA profile just gets you a long way. However, I wouldn't get redundant past this. And I think when you want to have a easy to wear casual fragrance, you really shouldn't spend more than like 20 bucks in today's current market. When you look at all of the Calvin Klein fragrances, Nautica Voyage, and a lot of the clones and dupe houses, you can spend 20 bucks and get a fragrance DNA like this all the time, you know, and perhaps even get a little bit something a little bit more intriguing. But nonetheless, this is a great fragrance. Again, I feel like this is almost 1-to-1 to Nautica Voyage entirely. In fact, the juice is almost the exact same. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. If you haven't copped this yet, go with Ice instead. If you can get them in a similar price range, getting this and Ice would be severely redundant. But yeah, you could have a lot of use case on this fragrance. I might, you know, decant this out for folks because I already have Nautica Voyage and I probably won't play between both of them. So yeah, hope you guys had a good time with me on the channel today. Again, if you're new to the stream, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, just comment, guys. Give me some feedback if you rocked Hawas, if you disagree with me, if you agree with me. Another thing is in that category of like crisp, appley, citrus fruits up top, water note, freshy with charm, that DNA strand. Do you guys feel that there's a better fragrance than this? I feel like in the apple category, Lacoste Red is the superior fragrance to both Hawas and Nautica Voyage. It's a little rarer to find, but you can certainly find a 100 ml bottle online for the $20-$30 range. They use crisp red apple as well as the green, so I feel like it kind of has a little bit more uniqueness to the punch of apple and the type of apple that's represented there. But yeah, appreciate you guys for rocking with me. This is the Scent Bubble. Until next time, we are signing off.